It was just a couple of days ago that we learned that Coach Tang was not going to be able to make it. Obviously, there are people who bought tickets for this event that are K-State fans and look forward to hearing him, and we couldn't find anyone who could appropriately kind of fill that role and talk about that season. But lo and behold, we had someone coming to Wichita who certainly fits in with the other major topic of the night, catching. Please welcome 10-time U.S. Women's National Team member in baseball, not softball, Anna Kimbrell. You are quite a story, and let's start with, we're going to meet the Posey Award candidates coming up. A couple come from very much baseball families. You started playing baseball in Rock Hill, South Carolina at the age of 8, and I happened to had a chance to see an interview with you earlier. You didn't particularly come from a baseball family, so how did this all get started?
Yeah, I got started when I was actually probably 2. I saw a girl and her boyfriend throwing a ball on the beach, and there it began. But yeah, not really a baseball background. Most of my family, they're all farmers. My grandfather on my mom's side was big into flying, which has been really cool to be here because of all that airplanes and everything going on here. But yeah, I mean, not much of a baseball background family-wise, but I took a love to it, and I've stuck with it for my entire life now.
Now, playing baseball, obviously, there weren't girls' teams, opportunities for girls. You've played with boys from the time you started. Was that really evident right from the beginning, that you were the only girl playing on these teams and in these leagues?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I've always been the only girl playing until I met the national team or found out about the national team. But growing up, I was always the only girl. I never saw another female playing even travel ball. So, I mean, across 2, 3, 4 states, I'd go play and wouldn't see another girl ever. And now they're having girls' events that the MLB is putting on, which is really cool. And so now it's not just 1 or 2 that you see. It's like the Trailblazer series was 96 girls, ages 11 to 13. So it's kind of cool. It's a growing sport. It's been fun watching it grow as much as it has since I was very young.
And I saw in the interview that while you're not from a baseball family, there wasn't that background. Your parents were very supportive. There was one particularly cool story you told about your mom taking the opportunity to listen in on what people were saying about you.
Yeah, so from a young age, as I said, I was the only girl playing, so my mom thought it would be cool to sit on the opposing team's benches in the stands and listen to what they had to say. We'd get in the car on the ride home, and she'd say, well, I heard so-and-so say this, or another parent said this, and I've been called everything from that surfer boy to, I mean, all sorts of stuff. You shouldn't be playing ball, to, oh, wow, she's actually got a good curveball, because as you said, I used to pitch. But yeah, it's been everything under the sun, and some of it's motivated me, and some of it is not. It's, hey, whatever.
I'm sure at some point as you progressed, girls were playing softball around you. Why did you stay with baseball as opposed to moving over to softball at some point?
Honestly, I'll tell you, I went and watched one of my friends play when I was probably 8 years old. And my mom was like, let's just go watch her play. Let's just go see what softball's about. And I was like, okay, all right, we'll go. I think we watched a half of an inning, and I think the only person that touched the ball was the pitcher. Every ball was hit right back to the pitcher, and I immediately looked at my mom, and I was like, I don't think this is a sport for me, Mom. I'm good. I think I'm going to stick with baseball. So I just stuck with it, kept going, and kept my feet moving the whole time.
You were the first girl in the history of the state of South Carolina to even play on a JV high school team, let alone a high school varsity. So I'm sure at some point in that process that you really had to start proving yourself.
Yeah, I always felt like I had something to prove. I was always having to keep up with the boys or work harder than them. So, about high school age, the boys were getting bigger and stronger and faster, and I'm not a very fast runner, but I always worked on that. So About, like I said, probably 8th grade, 9th grade, I had to really, really start working hard just to keep staying there with the guys. And thankfully, the coaches gave me opportunities to play, and I took every chance I could.
Why catching? Of all the positions, and you mentioned you pitched early on, the most physically demanding position that anybody can choose to play.
Well, because catching's the best. You're involved in every play. You get to tell everybody what to do. Not that I'm very bossy, but you get to direct the whole infield and outfield and kind of play the general or the captain on the field. So I really love that part. Buster and I were talking earlier today about calling pitches. And I really enjoy that part of the game, just the chess match of trying to figure out what's this guy going to swing at, what can we do to get this person out. And, the only reason I started pitching was because from a young age, somebody told me that if I was going to play in high school, I probably should pitch because that's the only main difference in baseball and softball. So if it came to the point where I had to go to court to even be able to play baseball and try out, then I would be able to win.
Did that happen? Did you have to go to court or anything?
Thankfully, it didn't. I was very lucky to have supportive coaches.
Now, about that time, you were in high school, 15 years old. You had your first experience, first opportunity with the U.S. national team. And at that point, did you even know there was such a thing?
So I found out about the national team in 2004. It was the first year that they had it. And my mom just happened to be researching women's baseball, and trying to find opportunities for me because then they were very minimal. And as soon as she found out about it, we found out, that I had to be 16 by the end of the year to try out. So 2006 would have been my first opportunity to try out. And day one, I was out there. We drove down to Jupiter, Florida, and that's where my tryout was.
Now, there was not, still is not, to my knowledge, any organized college baseball for girls and women. So you played softball at the University of Alabama, Birmingham during your college time. What was that like? What was there any particular differences that you noticed right away? I guess your feel on playing softball for 4 years.
It was fun. It was an experience. A lot of things in softball helped my baseball game. So it was really, really cool getting to experience that through college. Obviously, the student part comes first, but in the grand scheme of things, I just wanted to play ball. I had 2 offers for D3 schools to play baseball, but I chose softball because facilities and all of those sorts of things. And I was going to be a little bit closer to home than the D3 schools. So, yeah, obvious differences were like the base sizes, ball size, bats, all that. But, I had great teammates that welcomed me with open arms, and they really made my experience, what it was.
Now, I mentioned the opportunity to initially try out for the U.S. national team. You made the U.S. national team. You have played on 10 U.S. national teams. And I think everyone would be interested to know just that feeling of putting on a uniform that says USA, hearing the national anthem played, representing your country, and what that experience was like.
Oh, it never gets old. It never gets old. Just being able to wear USA across my chest is a very special feeling, and I'm sure Buster can speak to that as well. He was on a USA team too, so it's just, standing on the foul line, listening to your national anthem in another country, whether it's before a game or whether you're receiving a medal, there's just no greater feeling.
Pan American Games, 2015 and 2019, you brought home a gold medal, so not only representing your country, but actually winning a major title.
Yeah, 2015 was actually really amazing because we were in the Olympic or Pan American Village. It's all set up just like the Olympic Village. So there were the speed walkers there was weightlifters, boxers, swimmers, the whole 9 yards, and it was just, that's an experience of a lifetime, just being able to have all the different athletes from different sports and actually be able to be there and enjoy it. So that was actually the first multi-sport event that women's baseball was ever included in, so it was kind of cool.
I heard you tell a story about being on an elevator with some other athletes who were surprised when they found out what sports you were representing.
Oh yeah, yeah. And nobody ever realizes that there's women's baseball. So we constantly get the, oh, you mean softball? And I'm like, no, baseball. They're like, oh, little ball? Yes, little ball, 90-foot bases, 60-foot, 6-inch rubber, like same size field as the guys. Oh, really? Yeah, I promise it's all the same. You can Google this, and it's just mind-blowing for people, but it's pretty cool.
In those 2015 Pan American Games, you caught a game in which Stacy Piagno threw the only, to this time, no-hitter thrown in the history of international women's baseball. What do you remember about that experience? Did you realize at the time what was going on?
It's funny you ask, because I actually was texting Stacy. We call her Scotty. Long story. But I was texting Scotty earlier today because, I mean, that was a few years ago now, and I just remember being so locked in that game, and like I didn't even realize it was a no-hitter, much less one pitch away from a perfect game until after. So it's just, I mean, that was really neat. We were playing Puerto Rico, and she was just dealing. I mean, just going about my own business, doing my thing too. So it was pretty cool.
You talked about calling pitches, and that was one of the things that attracted you. The interview that I watched, you were asked, did she ever shake you off? You said you didn't recall that she ever did in the game.
No, none. Most of my pitchers know when they shake me off, it's not a good thing for them. I had a pitcher the other day that shook me off 3 times to throw his changeup, and he got a 2-run bomb hit off of him. So.
You came here to be part of this clinic that took place today, and I asked you when we were having dinner if there were any girls there, and actually quite a few.
Yeah, there was a group of, I think, 20 that I got to walk around with all day and kind of spend time with them, and it's fun. So I'm here to enjoy the game and share with my knowledge. So I really appreciated y'all sticking me with the girls. And
you do a lot of that sort of thing. Do you find a lot of girls asking you about, what about baseball as opposed to softball and that type of thing?
Yeah, so back home, there's more and more girls starting to play baseball and stick with it. So it's kind of cool to find them, because it's almost like they kind of seek me out, because they're like, hey, what are my next steps? So it's really been kind of cool to be able to kind of be an ambassador for the game, and kind of get people connected who maybe don't know what's next or where they can go. And it's just fun watching them get connected and plugged in, and next thing you know, they're at an MLB Develops event with us, and I'm getting to coach them on the field there.
We talked earlier about you having to prove yourself and playing with guys when you were growing up and so forth. I asked Mike Guerrer about the clinic today, and he said, first of all, he said you were awesome, but he mentioned that you jumped in with the 3 Posey Award finalists and attempted the throwing to second base blindfolded, something you'd never done before, and you still welcome challenges like that.
Oh, absolutely. Why wouldn't I? I'm right there with you. I'll do anything at least once.
You have, in a way, just through your participation, been a promoter of women's baseball. It's in the Pan American Games. It has not yet been in the Olympics. I'm sure that's something you hope for, but have you had a chance to be an activist or a voice in any way to see that happen?
I would love to be. I know the IOC has specific requirements for sports to be included in the Olympics, and I haven't gotten a chance to actually voice my opinions and whatnot, but I hope to one day be able to help push for it more. But right now we're still trying to grow the women's game completely, because I think it's 45 countries that have to have women's baseball. And we're getting pretty close. I'm going to Uganda actually in December to put on a clinic there. It'll be my 2nd trip over there, and the game has grown tremendously over there. So trying to do stuff like that just to help our game grow, maybe not for me, but for future generations. And hopefully one day women's baseball and men's fast pitch will be included, just like men's baseball and women's softball.
You mentioned Uganda and so forth. You've traveled around the world with this sport and had some amazing experiences. Any idea at all when you were that 8-year-old starting Little League Baseball back in Rock Hill that you would experience anything like what you have?
I had no idea that I would be sitting on a stage in Wichita, Kansas, talking about my years of experience. You know, and just looking back, I could have never imagined traveling around the world where I've been. I told Katie the other day, I was like, man, I've been everywhere except for the Midwest, so thanks for bringing me here. Now I'm just trying to find Ted Lasso, so if anybody knows him, I'd love to meet him. But yeah, no, it's been awesome. So it's been what a ride, and I hope I have a few more years left in me to keep playing.
This is kind of a random question, but I have to ask you this. I'm sure that you have watched the movie A League of Their Own, but I was curious if it was in any way an inspiration to you playing the game of baseball, and if you've ever had a chance to meet any of those women or share those experiences.
Yeah, that's a great question. A League of Their Own is definitely one of a kind. So definitely one of my favorite movies growing up. The Sandlot had to be number one, though. I swear I watched it every day as a kid growing up. So, yeah, Sandlot, League of Their Own. But, yes, I have met quite a few of the ladies. Jean Fout actually lived in Rock Hill and was able to come watch me quite a few times growing up. And actually, it's unfortunate she just passed back in February, but, I mean, it was really neat getting to meet her. And Maybelle, I think Maybelle's coming here at some point soon. You know, a lot of those ladies have tried to get involved again, and they're actually trying to support getting a league of our own going now. We'll be playing in Sarasota in November with the All-American. It's actually American Girls Baseball now, but it's part of the All-American Girls Professional Baseball League, and they sponsor a lot of us to come down to play. It's a 4-team tournament, and they're trying to get a league going, so if anybody would donate or be welcome, you know, they'd be interested in talking with anybody to help support that and what's going on there.
Well, I know you were planning to be here. Certainly you weren't expecting all of this. And on behalf of everyone, thank you for taking the time to do this. And I'm sure everyone's really enjoyed hearing your story and getting to meet you. Anna Kimbrell, ladies and gentlemen.
I forgot to say it. Anybody would want to see it.
Anyone wants to see the Pan American gold medal, she's got it. So she will certainly let you see that if you're interested. What we are going